2030 is the date for the ban on ICE vehicles, that's petrol and diesel vehicles. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you why that's a pointless date and why I think it's going to be beaten by at least 5 years. Now, car manufacturers tried to do everything they could to try and stop the government from bringing the date forward to 2030 by arguing that they're not going to be ready. And there's a couple of reasons whatever they say doesn't matter, which we're going to go into in this video. But 2030, before we get into it, is not a complete ban on all combustion vehicles. It can be a hybrid as long as a considerable amount of its range is done on the battery, the electric part, and then the hybrid part can kick in. So basically, if it hasn't got a plug, if it's a non-plug-in hybrid, it's finished, it's banned, it's over, it's gone. So Toyota fans are going to absolutely love the fact that this is coming in because, you know, Toyota always like to advertise they choose not to plug in. Well, they're going to have no choice but to plug in soon, and that starts at 2030. Now, there's a few reasons why 2030 is a meaningless date, and one of them is the UK is just one country of many, but other countries have also set 2030 as their ban, and Germany is one of them, the home of BMW and Volkswagen Group, two of the largest German manufacturers, two of the largest world manufacturers of cars, have got the same ban as the UK, and other countries in Europe have got a similar date. And this, at the end of the day, car manufacturers do not make a car for one specific market. If the UK did not ban ICE vehicles at 2030, they aren't gonna make one car that's just sold in the UK. They make a car for a world market. They make one car that fits the whole world market. Yes, they do sometimes target regional parts of the world, say the EU and North America, but at the grand scheme of things, they're not going to make one non-electric car just for the UK and then electric for the rest. So the ban is just basically in the UK coming in line with some other European countries and forces the rest of the manufacturers to sort of pick up to meet these targets for the UK and the rest of Europe. But it's worth also noting that California, one of the greenest states in America, their ban hasn't come in yet, but California have in the past had green incentives that forced the rest of the American automakers to make a car not just for California, but for other states, because again, they're not going to make one really expensive car just for California and then not sell it anywhere else. That's just not how economies of scale work. The next reason I like to call the Tesla effect. And the Tesla effect is basically Tesla eating into traditional car makers' revenue streams. And we're going to see much more small startup electric firms like Tesla start to make electric vehicles that are going to eat in traditional segments of automakers. And this is just obvious that it was going to eventually happen, that these smaller companies were going to fill the gaps of electric vehicles that other companies weren't making. And BMW and all other companies have noticed that they are losing sales to the Tesla effect, the Model 3, the Model X, but mainly the Model 3. I mean, one of the signs of this was the most common part exchange cars against Teslas were not BMW 3 Series or anything like that. Some of them were Toyota Yaris's and Volkswagen Golfs, and basically different segment size cars, people either stretching to afford a Model 3 and people who were definitely in these segments, say 3 Series, going to a Tesla Model 3. And basically these traditional car makers need to either copy what Tesla are doing, make the same car, or lose traditional market share, because the consumer market will force them to move this way if they like it or not. The cost of EV ownership is falling all the time. When the EVs first came out, there wasn't much choice, and basically the cheapest electric car you could get was 2.5 times more than a petrol or diesel equivalent. That's because there wasn't really much choice. There was basically Teslas, and they are a high-end premium car. For the price and the market that we're aiming at, that's what they were going at with Model X and Model S. As we've got more economies of scale and more manufacturers are joining the market, the costs of EVs are falling. And in fact, I predict by 2022, we'll only see a third more on what a traditional petrol and diesel car costs. And even at a third more, it's not really a lot more, because the costs of using the cars less. There's less cost in fuel, there's less cost in maintenance and service, because of the service and maintenance costs on a new electric car are a lot less than a new petrol or diesel car. And that's, like I said, factoring all the running costs in as well. So we're going to sort of see the adoption increase even more as people see the costs of buying being less. And most people in the UK tend to buy from PCP, and the other cars tend to be leased. Now this is slowly bringing me on to my last few points, and that is that diesel sales here in the UK have what we like to call the VAG effect, and the VAG effect is the VW effect, and that is the emission scandal that went on in America that actually didn't affect Europe or the UK at all, because our cars weren't subject to the same NOx emission tests. But because of that, all that press and what happened in the United States, it overhit over here, and diesel started to get a much more bad rep for its pollution and issues that it caused. And diesel sales in this country have fallen through the floor. Basically, they used to be one of the biggest segments over here, and now they are shrinking at a huge and rapid growth rate. And there's no extra taxes on diesel cars compared to petrol cars, or well, EVs are incentivized, but there's no extra taxes, there's no extra charges for diesel cars here in the UK unless you're driving into city centre London, but the rest of the UK aren't seeing any taxes on them. So the fact that diesel is plummeting, it's because of this consumerism of people knowing that diesel is ending, and because they know diesel's ending, they all started moving petrol and hybrids. And with the ban getting to 2040, people are going to be going, do I want to buy a vehicle in 2025 that in 5 years' time no one will want? Because people have got it in their head, even though they'll be able to drive for the next couple of years cars that are already on the road with petrol and diesel engines, people's mind and thoughts go, well, this car might be worth nothing in 5 years' time. And as we edge towards those dates and people's perception changes, people are going to want to move and jump sooner before the ban even hits. So you need to ask yourself, if you're watching this right now, if you're thinking of buying a new car, we are about 9 years away from the ban. And if yes, you may buy a car today and you'll keep that car, say, 3 years. But in 2024, 2025, would you want to buy another petrol car knowing that realistically the value of your car may be nothing and you may struggle to sell it? Or you're going to buy sooner? And the fact is you are going to buy sooner. And if manufacturers see these declining sales way before 2030, the ban means nothing, because people will already be buying full electric cars, so manufacturers just won't make them anymore. Just like I think that in the next year or two, there'll be no diesel cars sold new at all. Manufacturers just won't make them. There's no market for them. It's too expensive to make it. Just like I said at the start, they're not going to make special cars for special markets. If you're only selling 5% of your entire production of diesel cars, you're not going to make them. If you're only selling 5% of your entire market of pure petrol cars, you're not going to make them. It's just not cost effective to do them anymore. And that is why the ban will move a lot sooner. And I think 2025 is when we actually see manufacturers stopping pure petrol and pure diesel cars completely. They just won't exist. They're just not worth it. Do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments below. If you're thinking of buying an electric car, let me know what you're thinking of buying. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you again next week.